What's up, world? Let me tell you about this beard growth oil I got from 12 tribes on Earth. 8 ounces of oily goodness with a nozzle that prevents sprays and spills, and soft ingredients that make it perfect addition to anyone's morning routine. From coconut to castor, all these oils are hand chosen. After using this herbal blend, the biggest thing I noticed is how soft, how strong my hair was, and how good I feel. Pick up your bottle today and make your beard the star of the show.
Shalom, family. Shalom. Well, we're going to talk about Donald Trump made this promise. He made a promise saying that day one, prices in this country would go down when he took the presidency. And it has gone up the entire time he's been the sitting president. And now many people are upset because it's going up because of the war. And they got this plan to put all these millions of barrels of oil out, hoping it will drive the prices down. But even the economists are saying it's not going to drive the price down. You know, as long as this war is going on and the Straits of Hormuz is closed and people are not getting their oil because of that, it's going to continue to drive the prices up. So the prices you're looking at now, it's no telling how high gas prices are going to go. They said some places could be looking at $8 per gallon. And I tell you what, if it goes that high, I will put my sneakers on and gladly walk because that is crazy. $8 a gallon. Wow. Wow. You know, Donald Trump don't even drive. You know that? Donald Trump doesn't even have his driver's license. He's been people been driving him around his whole life. He's had chauffeurs and people that he hires. But Donald Trump don't even have a driver's license at all. But the thing that gets me is how much this is going to hurt so many people. There were people already struggling bad enough to make ends meet. But now that this war is going on, it's surely going to make things worse for a lot of people. Folks are already feeling the pinch. And every day I'm hearing about how high the gas prices are going. I see it every single day online. And it has the chain reaction. So if the gas and oil go up, the food is going to go up. You know, it's hand in hand. Travel is going to go up. Jet fuel is going to cost more. So they're going to pass that cost on to the consumer. Yeah, so I'm sure not looking forward to this year because I know as we go along, nothing is going to come down. It's not coming down. All right, y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Shalom to everybody in the chat. Okay.
Iran and the gas prices here in the United States is going to get worse. We're seeing that as Donald Trump is now saying that he could be releasing certain sanctions on certain countries to try to bring down the price of gas. This is bad for many reasons. Because when he's talking about releasing sanctions on certain countries, he's referring to the fact that he wants to release sanctions on Russia, a country that we and Europe has been sanctioning left and right because of their invasion of Ukraine. So how would that make things worse for us if we release sanctions on Russia, which would make gas cheaper? Well, first, analysts agree that releasing these sanctions would not actually make gas prices go down. It would slow it down and it would still rise a little bit. But for Russia, this is a completely new ball field because we're now essentially allowing Russia to get a massive influx of cash by selling said oil, in which they will use that money to buy more weapons to use in.
They're releasing 400 million barrels of oil, and that's the largest in history. And so the idea is if you put more supply of oil into the market, you're going to see prices go down. But they didn't yesterday. And I actually just checked, and oil's back above $90 a barrel. And the reason why is that this release was already baked into the price of oil. Oil traders saw this coming. It was very telegraphed. And that's why you saw oil come down from 120 earlier this week down to about 85. The other piece of this is that the tankers are still being attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. So yeah, 400 million barrels feels like a lot, but when you've got 15 million going through the Strait of Hormuz every single day that can't get there, it's only about 25 days of supply of oil. So it helps, but it really doesn't solve the problem. So that's why you're going to see the volatility happen or continue to happen, and gas prices continue to stay elevated.
Needless to say, drivers very upset about this. I saw an interview with one guy this morning that said the gas pump was looking at him like a bank loan officer about to charge him a lot of money, trying to make a joke about it, but it really isn't funny. How much longer do you think we'll have these higher prices?
I think you're going to see them stay elevated for longer. This release will help slow the pace of increases likely. But remember, we're marching towards the summer months when you already have gas. That summer blend cost more anyway. And when you have so much volatility, it's really hard for these companies to price a gallon of gas. Everyone that I'm talking to says 3 weeks is really the mark where you could see the next big increase, because when oil supply is constricted for that long, that's when you're going to see people get even more anxious about things.
Breaking news into the Don Lemon Show newsroom as it involves a war in Iran. Get ready for your gas prices to skyrocket because according to Iran, they said be prepared for the price for a barrel of oil to go up to $200. Right now, it's about $100. It hasn't hit that since 2022. However, gas right now is at $3.58 average a gallon. It was $3.48 a gallon yesterday. So 10 cents a day, you do the math. Within a matter of weeks, it'll be to $5, $6, $7 if this continues. Just so you know, when Joe Biden left office in 2025, gas prices were at about $3.11. Now they're at $3.58. Donald Trump likes to talk about gas prices. This is his own creation, a crisis of his own making. Let's see how he gets us out of this. But get ready to pay a lot more for gasoline.
What do you think is happening to the price of gas? The price of gas is up 50 cents in the past 2 weeks. I paid $3.98 a gallon the other day. They showed some places that's $7 a gallon.
Dang.
$7. Oh my God! It says construction companies cut 11. And what else you think is going to happen to the price of everything else? Because remember, everything has to be transported to get to you.
All right.
So price of eggs, price of cheese, all that stuff that have to get on a truck or a train to get to you, it's gonna go up.
Right.
I spent $15 more to fill up my tank this week than I did last week.
Iran tells the war to prepare for $200 a barrel for oil. What? Yes. The Iranians just told the world to prepare for $200 a barrel for oil. It's more than double the current prices you're paying. So whatever you're paying, for example, at the gas pump, you're paying $3.70 a gallon, then you're looking at nearly $8 a gallon. In some places, some states are paying significantly more than that. You can thank Donald Trump for this. They didn't expect Iran to attack oil resources, oil facilities, oil hubs, and pipelines. And to block the Strait of Hormuz. Big F up, Donald Trump. Y'all missed this one, didn't you? This means gas prices at the pump. This means food prices. This means energy. This means your electricity to heat and cool your home. This means everything we buy can potentially see the transportation costs more than double. Thank you, Donald Trump. And hit 3 more ships overnight in the Strait of Hormuz, or close to it. Had their most intense bombing, apparently, of Israel and of the various Arab countries throughout the Middle East, in particular targeting oil facilities. It still has the ability to use both their missiles and their drones, which apparently they've got thousands and thousands of the drones left to use. I think they thought, Trump and Pete Hegseth, that they would have this all done in a day or so. Not worked out that way. This is a very expensive war, and it's just starting. It's not ending. Trump and his administration, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, completely effed this one up. Almost as bad as Pam Bondi. What do you all think? Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos under burner light bulbs. If oil goes to $200 a barrel, we're going to be really suffering. You think it's bad now? Wait till that hits, assuming it does, if Iran can back up their word. And right now, it seems like they can. Trump can't do anything about it.
The Trump administration keeps telling us that as soon as they stop this active war in Iran, gas prices are going to come right down. I read something today that told me why that is absolutely not the case, and I want to explain it to you. But what it said is that even if Trump ends this war tomorrow, which he likely can't, Strait of Hormuz may stay closed for months. It's all because of insurance companies. So most of us have the basic picture right. We understand that oil prices are going up because Trump launched this unauthorized war in Iran. As a result of that attack, Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz, the single most important oil transit choke point on the planet. There's no real alternative route, so if it's closed, the world feels it, not just us. So we've got all that, but there is an assumption baked in for most of us, and I think for Trump too, that the strait is shut down because of active fighting, and that once the fighting stops, ships are just going to start moving again. That's what Trump is promising, but he is leaving out a massive factor. The Strait of Hormuz was functionally shut down by paperwork. On March 1st and 2nd, 7 insurance companies filed 72-hour cancellation notices for ships transiting the Persian Gulf, and traffic in the strait immediately dropped by 80%. Not because ships couldn't physically pass. Without insurance, no port will accept you. No bank will finance your voyage. No cargo owner will load your ship. You become a commercially useless object. These 7 companies collectively insure the vast majority of the world's ocean-going shipping tonnage. As long as they refuse to insure, nothing is going anywhere. Now, war risk insurance is still technically available, but policies are now limited to 7 days. They cost more than $1 million per week. That is unsustainable. Financial analysts are warning that even if the bombs stop tomorrow, the strait could remain functionally closed for months afterward because the insurance market and the military campaign are running on completely different clocks. Even after a ceasefire, insurance markets are going to have to rebuild their risk models from scratch, renegotiate capacity through an entire chain of reinsurers, re-underwrite individual voyages one at a time. Now, Trump has announced the U.S. government will offer insurance to ships in the Gulf and that the military will escort them through if necessary, but so far that hasn't moved any ships because our own Navy has already said it's too dangerous. Also, taxpayers do not want to subsidize insurance for the world's ships. So when Trump stands up and says, "Oh, I ended the war and gas prices are coming down," remember, the people who actually control that strait right now work in insurance offices. They are on a completely different timeline than Trump is. They will say when they're ready to reinsure those ships, it'll be well after the bombs stop falling, possibly many months later. The first $100 tank of gas is coming, folks, and by the third one, a lot of Americans are going to be asking why nobody told them this wasn't just about bombs. It was spreadsheets, 7 companies, and an administration that started a war without reading the fine print.
Let's chat quick about diesel prices. While drivers fixate on a spike in gas prices stemming from the war with Iran, some people can insulate themselves by driving an EV or using public transit. But a jump in diesel prices impacts almost everything all of us buy. And the price of diesel has shot up $1 a gallon in Minnesota in less than a month, and it's even more than that nationally. Now, trucking companies tell me fuel is their second biggest expense behind labor, and the spike right now comes at a very bad time.
challenge for trucking companies is we're in the fourth year of a freight recession. We don't have a lot more levers to pull. Margins are pretty tight. We cannot float that extra cost right now. So they're going to have to pass them on to their customers and ultimately the consumer.
Diesel is the fuel that powers the engines that run the U.S. economy. And when the data catches up to tell the story, we're going to see the pendulum on inflation swinging back in a significant way. Our wallets will be feeling the pain of higher diesel prices.
Day 12 of the war in Iran, and the New York Times reports the White House did not see the economic impact coming, assuming the war would go like it did the last time the president struck Iran, with some advisors in private, quote, dismissing warnings that the second time around, Iran might wage economic warfare by closing shipping lanes carrying roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. And yet, that is exactly what is happening. Yesterday, our reporter on the Strait of Hormuz told us he saw a ship on fire in the strait. This morning, we woke up to news that at least 3 ships were struck, according to a British maritime monitoring group, including this Thai-flagged vessel right here, which Iran appeared to claim responsibility for. We have that same reporter on the Strait again today with what the Gulf is now doing to try and stabilize global oil markets. As the Pentagon at the same time says it's working to push back the Iranians, here's video CENTCOM says shows the U.S. military destroying 16 of the country's mine-laying boats on Tuesday. Still, though, with the waterway all but closed, global oil prices are spiking, along with the price of gasoline here at home. AAA now says the average cost of a gallon of regular is $3.58. That is 20% more expensive than it was before the war just a few weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Even still, $3.58 is a whole lot cheaper than some places in this country where drivers are staring down gallons well above $5. And with that as a backdrop, Donald Trump is going to try to refocus on affordability today. At least we expect that. He is headed for Kentucky and Ohio, first to try and oust Republican Rep. Thomas Massie, and then to presumably talk about prices. So are folks going to be open to it? Here is what some voters have been telling us.
It's just a glitch, but it will even itself out, and I don't even care if I have to pay more. The end result is what we're doing, and I think it's a good thing.
It was like $250 not even like a week and a half ago, and then it jumped up to $349. Like, it's definitely because of what's going on over there.
Just to fill it up, it was $45. Now to fill it up is $65. I'm less than a quarter of a tank, so it's between getting gas or going to the grocery store to get food for my kids.
Have you filled your gas tank up in the last week, and what have you noticed?
I actually stopped driving because gas prices have gone so high.
President Trump just announced starting next week, the United States is going to release 172 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And that release is going to happen over the next 4 months. This is almost the exact same amount of oil that President Biden released when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. But what is this going to mean for you and your gas prices? And do we have enough oil in the SPR to cover that? Well, let's start there. According to the U.S. Energy Department, as of today, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve's crude oil inventory is sitting at about 415 million barrels. According to the Energy Department, that is the equivalent to about 4 months of crude oil net imports. The SPR has the capacity to hold 714 million barrels. That means, as of today, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is only 58% full. Now, you may remember when Russia invaded Ukraine back in 2022, President Biden released those 180 million barrels of oil from the SPR over a 6-month time frame. At that time, that was the largest release of the SPR in history. Before he left office, Biden added back about 60 million barrels into the SPR. But on the campaign trail, then candidate Trump railed against Biden for that SPR drawdown and promised when he came back into office that he would drill, baby, drill and fill the reserves back up. In fact, it was part of his inaugural address. Well, as I've reported, the price of oil did actually come down in 2025, but the SPR was not filled back up. Not to 100%, not even to 75%. But that might not entirely be Trump's fault, just like it might not entirely be Biden's fault. More on that in a second. But back to what's happening today. President Trump said this release of 172 million barrels from the U.S. reserves would be part of the 400 million barrel release that was announced today by the International Energy Agency. Remember how I told you that oil is a global commodity? Yeah, well, that's why this global announcement is important. So the U.S., along with the other 31 member nations of the IEA, like Japan and Germany, the UK and France, are all participating in this. And with them all putting 400 million barrels of oil on the market, including the US's 172 million, that will help bring gas prices down for you. But by how much? Well, I have some numbers that you might be interested in, and they are based on what happened when President Biden released those 180 million barrels in 2022. So it's about the same amount. Spoiler alert, it didn't really bring down gas prices as much as you would think, and it certainly wasn't a quick fix. According to an analysis from President Biden's own Treasury Department, it took 4 months of that 6-month release for gas prices to drop between 13 and 31 cents. But when Biden's Treasury Department calculated in the IEA's oil release over those same 4 months, gas prices dropped between 17 and 42 cents. But again, that took 4 months, not 1 month, not 1 week, not 1 day, 4 months. Now, I mentioned Trump and even Biden aren't entirely to blame for not refilling the SPR all the way back up. And that is because it's not really the president's choice. Congress has to allocate the money for the president to direct the oil to be purchased. And when it came to President Biden, Congress actually rescinded some of the money that they had already allocated for oil purchases. And in Trump's case, he asked Congress to give him $1.3 billion in the big, beautiful bill so he could refill the SPR. But instead, Congress only gave him a fraction of that, just $171 million. So the fact is the SPR is being refilled, but very slowly. The other thing you need to know is since President Trump gave the order today to release those 172 million barrels, according to the Energy Department, the SPR can only safely release about 4.4 million barrels a day.
Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term.
You know, that's really weird because your own Department of Energy put out a report today that said gas prices, even by the end of 2027, wouldn't return back to where they were just a couple of weeks ago. I'm just saying. So I guess I'm just curious if your own Department of Energy and your own EIA states what they stated today. Where are you getting your information from exactly? If you're not getting it from your own experts, could it be from your energy secretary who said this morning that gas prices will return to normal within weeks, not months? The guy that is the head of this agency? Thanks.
We have major updates regarding the war in Iran. The war is expanding rapidly. According to reports, Hezbollah has joined into the war, and there are now preliminary reports from Cyprus Mail that a British base in Cyprus was struck by a drone. At the same time, get ready to pay for more at the pump. Reuters is now reporting that for the first time in months, the average U.S. gas price at the pump will be over $3 a gallon of gas as the price of oil has surged as a result of this war. In addition, the U.S. stock market futures are much lower. The Dow fell over 500 points as a result of the conflict. Donald Trump has not taken any questions from reporters tonight in a very major break from prior kind of ways he's acted. He didn't take any questions on Air Force One. He didn't take any questions when he got off Air Force One. The American public remains in the dark. Spread the word. Follow for more. We have major updates regarding the war in Iran. The war is expanding rapidly, according to
Yo, yeah. I mean, all I can say to my people is anticipate paying high prices for the rest of this year into 2027. These prices aren't going anywhere. They're not. I mean, I hate the thought that people are paying $8 a gallon for gas. That is just absolutely crazy. I think by the time this whole thing, if it comes to an end, these people are, like I said, they're going to lose a lot of credibility in the world, and nobody is going to follow Donald Trump's lead on anything ever again. Edom, I think Edom's downfall is inevitable. Once the world refused to accept their rulership and start ignoring them or not dealing with them at all, that's going to be a major, major blow for them. You know, the fact that we see no allies joining Donald Trump says it all. That means they're not with Donald Trump and they don't care. Donald Trump is losing, and the allies that America has do not care. In fact, about 2 days ago, Canada dragged Donald Trump over the war. So you're not gonna get Canada, you're not gonna get Mexico, you're not, well, the Latin American countries, I mean, they are not exactly, world renowned for having strong armies, they're just not. And the Europeans over there, they're not even trying to join Donald Trump in anything of it. They're condemning him, but they're not joining him. And y'all, I really think this is very telling to what kind of future Esau is going to have. Esau is literally going to be abandoned. And we're just starting to see the beginning stages of that right now. So, y'all, this is my final live. Thank you so much for being here. Boy, if you can save any of your money, or try to conserve where you drive to in your car and just go, when it's necessary for you to be out there, then you may be okay. But, you know, this is why, because of the gas prices, and I know there's probably businesses out here that will never agree with me, because of the gas prices, they should let people go back to working from home. I really think in the long run, that would be better for the consumer instead of gas going up 7, $8, and then you're obligated to get on these roads and drive to work. They really need to reconsider allowing people that can do their job from home, just let them do it for real. I mean, I understand all jobs cannot be done from home. Yeah, well, let those people drive to work, but the ones that don't need to, be in front of customers or anything, let those folks work from home. Or you're just working on your computer all day. Why can't that be done from your house? I just think when economically people are in trouble, people are already struggling to pay rent and mortgages. Now they got to pay these high ass fuel prices out here. Let them work from home. Damn, how hard is that? This is really going to hurt a lot of people if they are barely making it and they got to pay for this gas, because we know every single summer gas goes up. So the prices are going to be higher than what you're looking at, and it's going to get even worse. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm asking for too much, y'all.
MC2, the X Project, thank you so much for the 25-month membership. Esau is done, and like the Nephilim of old, they're seeing the end before it comes, but the Most High has given them a strong delusion to believe their own lie. They'll act brand new when the ticket get punched. Yes, I definitely agree with you on that. And thank you for your support for my channel. I deeply appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I know people got to hang on to their jobs. I understand, but when it gets this bad, I think jobs can do something about it and give their employees relief. That's all I'm saying. Give people some damn relief where they don't have to be on the road every day burning the gas and be obligated to put gas in their tank. And this is going to cut into everybody's paycheck. Let's be real. When you get paid and you got to pay $100 per tank, yeah, that's going to cut into your money. Mm-mm-mm. And to me, it would just be better. I mean, it's one thing if you have this qualification, and I feel sorry for people that gotta be on the road for a living, because there's a lot of people that do those type of jobs, and that's gonna be just crazy. Yeah, they can give you a bonus, but what kind of bonus are we talking about if gas is over $8 a gallon? What kind of bonus are they gonna offer? I just let people work from home. So, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here and your support. We'll do this all over again tomorrow. As of the 17th of March, the Somalians' temporary protection will be gone. So they got what? A little less than a week, and ICE is definitely going to ramp it up on their behinds. So I will see you tomorrow on all new topics. Shalom, family.